So the series is called From Fear to Faith, and the reason I call it that is that there always seems to be a moment where in the Bible there's an arc. It's like a continuum, and someone will go from where they try to go on their own strength, and then from their own strength and their struggles because of that, without the Holy Spirit, we're going to choose words like they're out of control. It's more on the selfish side and not on the selfless side. And then under the power of the Holy Spirit, we'll call it their Mount Everest. So they'll climb this Mount Everest, these moments that you'll see over and over again. And when they do that and they accept the Holy Spirit as part of their journey, then the next thing you know, they're under the control of the Holy Spirit. So now their strengths become strengths instead of struggles. Their strengths are no longer weaknesses. They're truly, that faith is driving them to treat people differently. And so I'd like to show you that arc. I want to take you through that process, but in the meantime, I'm going to teach you about different personalities. And what has to happen before we do anything is I'm going to build a foundation in this first class, because I'm going to share a lot of things that are what I would talk about normally in the secular world and not at church. But I want to show you why. If you've ever been, how many of y'all are still working at a corporation, doing business, whatever it is, every single day? You've got a team, you got people you have to work with, all that kind of good stuff. And have y'all ever had to, like your company says or your team says, all right, we got to do some kind of training, right? And then someone comes in and either does like emotional intelligence or some kind of leadership training or personality training. Yep, hands up. Yeah, any of that? What's something you've been trained in?
Conflict resolution.
Yeah, you ever done something like that, conflict resolution? If you've been a manager, things like crucial conversations or setting goals with your team or any of those type of things, right? Y'all used to all those type of things. We're going to do a whole class on communication, or we're going to do a whole class on X, Y, and Z. So since 1997, when I first started my Camp for Kids, one of my goals is to help students understand not just their style, their personality, but their parents' style. And that's really where it all started, is that I had a real struggle with my dad. And as I struggled with my father, trying to figure out his style compared to mine, I didn't know it's what it was called, right? You don't know that. You don't know, oh, he's got a personality style and I've got a personality style. I wouldn't even know to call it that. I just thought, my dad doesn't like me and I don't know why. And so I would wake up every day thinking, I'd like to be myself today. And my dad would tell me, I'd like for you not to be that way. And he would say different things. So I would try to do something and he would tell me to do it differently. And so what happens over time is if you, and I'll write this up on the board so you can see it. But if you get to a point where in a relationship, where did I put that one?
In my book.
If you ever get to the point where you're in a relationship, and I'm going to give you these three things really quick, so you can write it on the back. Okay? This is extra. It's not even in the notes. It's extra. Right off the bat, you're getting more than you paid for. Here we go. So this is tolerate. At first you'll try to tolerate a behavior, right? Like it's your father, it's your spouse, it's your child. It's someone you have to work with every single day. And so at first you'll try to tolerate the behavior because you have to. Then eventually, if there's enough devalue, lack of appreciation, you feel bad enough around that person, eventually what will start to happen is you'll try to avoid them. And then finally, if you've done everything you can to tolerate it, then avoid it, then the last step is we'll try to eliminate it. So eliminate meaning I'll just get away from that person. I just don't want a relationship with them anymore. And that's where you see what you need. Pen? Who needs a pen? Anybody need a pen?
Did everybody not get the handout?
So anybody else need a pen? Pen? Who didn't get a handout? Everybody get a handout? Handout? Everybody get a handout? And then, all right, who didn't get a card? You got a card? Okay.
The one on the end, the extra one for the end.
Perfect. All right. Hopefully everybody's got one. Okay, so back to our dilemma here. When you are around someone long enough and you feel unsafe or insecure or unappreciated or devalued, you can use a million words that you want. With my dad and I don't know if I ever felt unsafe. I don't think that was right. I probably felt insecure a lot, wondering what I was doing wrong. But mostly the word I would use is I just felt misunderstood. Does that translate to anybody? You just feel misunderstood. You don't feel quite as though you can be yourself around them. So the more you do what you normally would do, you realize very quickly that's not acceptable. And so you start adapting to try to not create conflict or not feel terrible about the moment. So at first, you can see the three parts. At first, I tolerated it, and then I tried to avoid him at all costs when I didn't have to be around him. That was pretty hard, since he's my dad, and I'm growing up with him. And then eventually, when I turned right at 18, I told him, just don't ever talk to me again. I'll take care of myself, which I did. So I put myself through college and didn't talk to my dad on purpose for the next several years, just to put him in his place and let him know that he wasn't in charge and I could take care of myself. Which, by the end of this time, I'll give everybody, it's a little sticker, and I just finished my latest book. It's called A Walk with My Father, and it's that journey that sometimes we take when we love somebody tremendously and we don't know how to get along with them and where we go to try to find our way back. And so I'll give you all a little sticker by the end of the time. Y'all can all have the book and all that good stuff. But we're not going to talk about that this time. We're going to talk about the personality stuff to get us to understand how we work with people differently. Okay? All right. So tolerate, avoid, eliminate. Does that make sense? As a high school teacher here in Kingwood, one of the things, there's a quote that I use a lot. It says, if you don't pay attention to the whispers, get ready for the shout. So as a high school teacher, I would sit in a classroom and I would pay attention to the little whispers that my students would have. Let's say they put their head down, or let's say they stopped interacting, or all of a sudden they started showing up late, or they didn't turn in their information, or whatever it is. It's the smallest things to where I start to realize they're going down this continuum. So if you don't pay attention to the whispers, get ready for the what? Shouts. And the same thing with relationships like for you and I. If we don't pay attention to the whispers in our relationships, the little moments where you're starting to slowly see somebody avoid you. You're starting to see the moments where there's conflict a lot. I know, is there like a herd of elephants up there? What is that? That's always, is it little babies? Yeah. Little baby teenagers? Okay, good. So anyway, whatever. That sounds about right. So, couple of things. Since the title is From Fear to Faith, I thought about it a lot. What causes us to be afraid? So what happens when we're afraid? And then what's the difference when we're afraid compared to when there's faith? They're both unseen, right? You don't see them right away. They're things that you can't see, but you experience. And they both manifest themselves in two different ways. Fear makes us try to get away from something. Faith drives us towards something. Does that make sense? Right? Mm-hmm. So fear, if I start getting afraid of something, I create a false evidence appearing real. I create evidence in my mind that something isn't true, and then I let that become a part of my daily life until somebody says, have you ever looked at it this way? Have you ever prayed? Have you ever thought about this differently? Okay, last one little thing. We'll do this one little piece over here, because this is also free, not in the notes, extra. There's like a, we're going to call that a bridge. Okay, that's a bridge right there. And this is like belief 1, and this is belief 2. And what ends up happening is, and from belief 1 to belief 2, the difference between those two in psychology, we'll call it cognitive. I don't know if you've heard this term before, cognitive dissonance. It's a fancy term that just means disharmony. So what does that mean? That means that over here I believe this to be true, and then I'm presented with a completely different thought, belief, Bible verse, God's truth. And the difference between that thing over here compared to the thing I believe just prior to it, allows me to jump from maybe this is fear over here, and all of a sudden this is faith. But you're going to have these moments throughout your life. You're going to have a ton of them, which ultimately help you go from one moment where you believe something to be true beyond a shadow of a doubt. Someone presents you with a different truth, and the next thing you're like this, I didn't realize that. I like that way better. And we'll base a lot of this is where all my study went, and this is all the time I spent with my students and everything else. There are moments in 7th grade where you believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that whatever thing you had to have in that moment was the thing that would make you whole. That friend, that purse, those jeans, like when, I don't know, I'm going to have to be my age, okay? But so when, y'all remember, I hate this, Jordache jeans. I didn't wear Jordache because those are for girls, but anyway, but Jordache, Guess, you know what I'm talking about? There's a certain things, at that time, believe it or not, it was parachute pants. Yeah, I don't know if y'all remember these or not, but parachute pants were horrendous. Okay, they're horrible. A horrible piece of, clothing. But anyway,
Plastic.
Yeah, what?
Like plastic.
Yeah, they are. They're like, anyway. But the whole point is this: is that there was something that you were dealing with in 7th or 8th or 9th grade, where you thought, if I don't have that, I'll never fit in. If I don't say that or do that, or if I can't go to that, I'm just talking about kids for a second. But if I don't go to that party, if I'm not in that group, then my life means nothing. Well, you don't change much of that, quite honestly. I've got to be in this group now. Now I've got to make this. I've got to have this kind of job. Okay? If we're not careful, we get mixed up in this a lot. But then you realize if you look back from 7th grade even to when you're a senior, much less if you get past college, those age right there in the 20s, you're going to look back and go, that was like the dumbest belief I've ever had in my life. I don't need it. It didn't make me better. It was only a temporary moment where I thought if I had that thing, it would propel me into being popular or okay or feeling safe. Does that make sense? And that's hard. And so we spend a lot of time being afraid of stuff so that we can get our needs met. All right. So what I want to do is take you on this little journey, but this like I told you this time, we're going to go through a couple of thoughts from fear to faith. And so I'm going to have you do this little exercise with me really fast. And if you don't mind, go ahead and however you cross your hands, just cross them naturally. However you cross your hands. So whatever it is, like if you have your left thumb over your right thumb, however it is. So how many of y'all have your left thumb over your right thumb? There is no right way, by the way, to do this. Does anybody have your left over your right like that? Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, you're good because you're like me. All right. And so, but how many of y'all have your right over your left? Does anybody have your right over left? Okay. So that's not like me. That's okay.
That's okay.
It's all right. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay. But I didn't ask you to do something that was unnatural. I asked you, one more time, just cross your hands naturally. Just like that, okay? And all I want you to say to me. Just say, understanding me. Say, understanding me.
Understanding me.
So there's a way you like to do you naturally. I don't have to convince you of it. I don't have to persuade you of it. As a matter of fact, it comes quick. If I did that, I could ask you 100 times. I could ask you tomorrow, and you'd go, out of the two options that I have here, that one or that one, I do this one every time I feel good about it. Okay? Let's do the opposite. Do it the way you wouldn't normally do it. Do it the other hand on top. Okay? How's that feel?
Awkward.
Weird.
Yeah. Awkward, uncomfortable, weird. And I always say the same thing. I'm holding my own hand and I don't like it. It's like, listen, it's me. You don't have to be so upset. I'm like, I don't like that at all. Okay? All right, so first one, say it with me. Do it natural. Do it natural. And just say, understanding me.
Understanding
All right,
me.
now switch it the other way. Little awkward, little uncomfortable. Say discovering others.
Discovering
So there's
others.
a moment where we all, when we're interacting with somebody else, they might do it differently than we would naturally do it. And because of that, not only do we have to know ourselves, we now have to try to learn how to work with who? Others, them. So discovering others. Okay, so then if you ever got to go back to high school for a second, and so can you do that like that? It's called like a cheerleader clap. Like one of those. Give me a good one. Well, that was almost all at the same time. Okay, so go back to the beginning. Understanding who? Me. Discovering who?
Others.
And then on 3. 1, 2, 3. That was really good. All right, working together. So what if we had an opportunity to learn about ourselves, right? Learn about how other people do what they do, so that all of a sudden we're not on this continuum all the time. I've got to tolerate that behavior. I've got to avoid them at all costs. I've got to eliminate them out of my existence. The reality is that there's very few people that are you. shockingly. Just you. And everybody else is going to probably, even if they have the same personality style you have, they might come at it a little differently because of their experience, their wisdom, their values, everything else that comes as part of it. Okay? So, last time, understanding who?
Me.
And that comes what? Comes really natural.
Naturally.
Discovering what?
Others.
That doesn't come as natural. It's a little uncomfortable, a little awkward, and it takes a little bit of effort in order to do it. It actually takes a lot. And then finally, 1, 2, 3. God, that's like, all right. I think we should go ahead and start. Just quit for today because that was 2 times in a row that I'll be able to do it. All right, so understanding me, we've got to have that self-awareness, discovering others. We've got to learn some self-control when working with people we don't quite understand. And then working together in the big scheme of things, as we work together and use all the parts of the whole, the body of Christ, all of it, then that's a completely different gift. Because then all the people are working in synchrony, right? We're all putting things together to help each other. And all of our strengths and gifts become part of it. So when I put this over here, understanding me, there's a constant learning and growing in that. To discover others, you're going to have to be able to see from their perspective, not just your own. And that's what empathy basically means, to be able to see from another perspective. And then finally, what if we were working together and used all of our strengths and gifts? What would that look like? Now, the hard part is we got to get past this center one. And sometimes the harder part is just getting past yourself all the way to get to work together. Okay, so we're at the very, do y'all see this? We're at the very top of the page. We just conquered the very first, number 1, if y'all didn't see it. Okay, let's go to the DISC framework really quick. If you were here last week, how many of y'all were here last week when I just did a basic understanding? Okay. So maybe for some of you are like, that guy's just weird enough to where I want to see what in the world that means. So he did some weird stuff, and I liked it, and so I'm going to check it out and see what happens. Okay, so I like to teach all the 4 personalities, but I want to show you the model, and I'm going to give you some insights on it. We won't dive deep into the biblical personalities on this one. We're going to literally tackle D, I, S, C, each week in a different week. And so we're going to learn all about the D in one. Because right now what we're going to do for the first couple of weeks is just going to try to figure out how do we understand ourselves. If we can get that right, if we can understand ourselves and have enough awareness about us, then we can know our stuff enough to know, man, that's why I go ballistic. I go get mad. I get angry. I push people away. I do these things I didn't want to do, but they're so different than me. And I have no idea how to deal with even me yet well, that I have to figure that out. So we're going to do that first, okay? Then we'll discover others, all the personalities. And then at the very end, we'll wrap it up and show you how Jesus worked with every single personality across the Bible. So, but I got to build the foundation first. Okay. So remember last week I said that there are 4 styles. The actual language is dominant, influencing, steadiness, and compliance. That's where the D, I, S, and C comes from. And it was created in the 1920s by a professor named Dr. Marston. He actually created the lie detector test. So if you've... the polygraph. And so he started to notice very distinct patterns when people were in environments. And the more he started to study these environments, he started to realize, now listen to this term, he wrote a book called The Behaviors of Normal People. Did y'all hear that? Because by nature, it's hard to predict abnormality. Does that translate? I can't tell you what a tendency is when somebody doesn't have one. I can't predict a potential behavior within an environment when nobody will do the same thing twice. So the study, it doesn't matter what study you do in personality information, it's of normal behavior. Schizophrenia, bipolar, any of those type of behaviors are by nature not normal. They change from place to place, so you can't predict them. So if you've ever done personality information, it's of predictable tendencies and preferences that we have for an environment, okay? And it's typically a 4-style temperament, which we'll learn right now. All right, so remember last week, take your hand, go like this. So we're going to say the D's, that's this one right here, D, personality, wants to get the job done, say done.
Done.
All right, and then the I's over here, they're acting out, going fast-paced and relationship-driven. They want to have some, give me some spirit fingers. They want to have some fun. Everybody say fun.
Fun.
Okay, so D's want to get the job what?
Done.
I's want to have a little fun. The S's always try to go like this, just please be nice. Say nice.
Nice.
Okay, they're the ones trying to create, support, harmony, teamwork, all that good stuff like peace. And so they want you to be what?
Nice.
Nice. The D's want you to be?
Done.
Getting things what?
Done.
Get it done. Why are we still talking about it? The I's? Have some
Fun.
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 I'm so glad to see you. It's very exciting.
Yes.
I'd like to share with you a little bit. All right, and then the C's want you to be what?
None.
The
Done
C's.
the
The
C's.
C's want you to be? Right here?
Precise.
C's want you to be really what?
Precise.
And so last week when I did that, and I do it anytime I'm doing a big keynote or whatever it is, but I'll go like this, and I'll just hang in there until finally a D just can't take it any longer, and they'll go something like this. Okay, God, get it done. What are you doing? And I'm like, there they are. Thank you so much. And last week it didn't take long. I was still doing it, and somebody, they were right over there, that went, okay. I was like, there's my D. And now, here's the funny part. You ready? We can spend all day long trying to decide that there is no such thing as personalities, and nobody can tell me what my personality is. And I've had every version. I've been teaching this for 30 years. 30. Long time. Lots of audiences. I have literally audience members come up according to their personality and tell me they don't have a personality and don't believe in it. Okay? It's a true story. They'll walk up, and the D's will walk up, and they will make a beat. I can be in a keynote of 2,000, 3,000 people in an auditorium, and they will make a beeline down the auditorium, come right up to me if I'm like, I have books and stuff, and so if I'm signing something or whatever, and they'll come right up to me and they'll go, listen, I just want to let you know, I don't believe in any of this personality stuff. Nobody can tell me what my personality is. I'm just telling you that unless you have the John Smith, I'm just making up this guy's name, the John Smith personality, then there's no such thing. I said, wow. Felt a little dominant. Felt like you need to come all the way to the front, get in front of everybody just to let me know that you're in charge. Appreciate it. Thanks for getting that done. All right. And they will. The I's will walk up. They'll come up. Hey, I don't know what my personality is, but that was really funny. The story you told about your dad. I have a dad, and so I'd like to share with you for a second. And so there might be 15 people in that group and wanted to ask a question or something like that, and out of all of that person will stand there the whole time, share. From then on, the whole group's gone. The auditorium's cleaned out, and they're so like. And so let me tell you this other story. And then this one time is really cool. And so they'll share with you. Okay, the S's will walk up. I'm not sure what my personality is, but I just want to let you know. Thank you so much for your presentation. I don't know what my personality is, but you brought a lot of stuff today, and I just wanted to. Do you need help? Can I help you? Do you have a team? Is anybody else helping you? Do you have food? You spoke for a long time. You had a lot of energy. So are you okay? Do you need some water? And I was like, oh, thank you so much. That's very supportive. Okay. And then the C's will always walk up with whatever I've handed out or anything else, and they'll come up. I've got a couple questions for you first. And secondly, you made mistakes on page 7, 8, 10, and 12. And so, but it always typically starts with, I've got some questions for you. And you're like, well, thank goodness. So personality-wise, whether we know it or not, we have a basic style about ourselves that we feel comfortable in. It's not good or bad. I always say it this way. It's not good or bad. It's not right or wrong. It's just your difference on how you like to lead this world. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. Done, fun, nice, and precise. I want you to see these words right here: unfavorable, unfavorable, favorable, favorable. It's not in your handout, but if you wanted to draw, we'll do it over here together so I don't leave you out. If you wanted to think about this is where the information you can learn it really, really fast. And then we'll play from it from then on. So let's just on the very back of your page, on any back of your page, just draw the circle and then put it into 4 pieces like that. So just draw your circle, put it into 4 pieces. And then put your D up here where it's supposed to go, your I right there, your S right there, and your C right there. Okay? So you've created your model of human behavior. Does everybody see that? Okay, so when you draw it. On this side, I'm just going to write this down. This says unfavorable. It says on that side. And this side, you just write down the word favorable. Okay. So there's 2 personalities that are not unfavorable. They see the environment as unfavorable. And then there's 2 personalities that see the environment as favorable. All right, let me see if I can teach this to you. So as we look at what Marston did in research, what he was saying was, okay, see if this makes sense. You've got a personality that likes to move fast, has a very fast pace, but likes to get a result or move towards a task. Okay? That's why they want to get the job what? Done. They see the environment as unfavorable, that needs to be controlled, taken charge of, because it's not moving what? Fast enough, and it's not moving fast enough towards a goal, result. And so, since you're not going to do it, I'm going to take charge of it. I'm going. There you go. And so, and if that's your personality, you're like this. I like it. I like that a lot. I like that thought process. And it's built into that style when things slow down, when there's too many questions, when there seems to be a waste of time, when you don't get to the point. Any of those things, immediately they're like, oh, we're going to have to go ahead and get this thing what? Done. So as a whole, that personality sees the environment as what? Unfavorable, that needs to be controlled, taken charge of. If there's a challenge, I'll take it. If there's a risk, I'll take it. And let's move forward and make this thing happen. All right, let's go down to the C's. Remember what their style is? To make things what? Really what? Precise. If you look at this style and you start asking that question, they want everything to slow down. They want everything to speed up. They want everything to slow down. They both want to go towards a what? A result or a task. Now, there's the only difference. They're fast towards a task. They slow down towards a task. So when they slow down towards that task, they want everything to be precise, correct. There's a process. It's followed by steps. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. You shouldn't break that process because that's the accurate way to do something. So they see the environment as unfavorable, that needs to be right, correct. So when you start doing things that are incorrect or not structured or not in order, their natural tendency is to go, I don't like that at all. You need to fix that. You need to put that back right. You need to do it this way because that gives you the very best result. I know, but it's not fast. It doesn't matter. You don't speed things up. That's how you make what? Mistakes. That's how you make mistakes. You don't want to make mistakes, do you? So,
You learn from those.
yeah, well, you can learn from. And I'll say that this personality loves to learn from mistakes. I don't care. Like, I wasn't trying to get it right. I was trying to have fun. I was just trying to enjoy my day. I didn't know I had to do everything the way you told me from the very beginning. I didn't see the rule book before I got here. I was just trying to live my life, Dad. So part of that also, think about it this way, is that whole precision compared to, let's go to the other side, and again, don't hear this wrong, they are not unfavorable. When they look at an environment, they see the environment as one that either needs to be taken control of so we can get the job done, or corrected so we can do it right. I don't understand this. I mean, I don't want to give it away too much, but you'll get the point. I don't understand this. I was thinking about this a couple of sermons ago when Dr. Wu was preaching. He was preaching about the walls of Jericho. Do y'all remember this? Mm-hmm. It was, I don't know how many Sundays ago. It was maybe 5 or 6. And as I was listening to it, I thought, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Because my brain is going through the personality information. Because I look at it differently. When I hear things, I know these people are real human beings that are dealing with the situation. All right, so what's the plan? Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to walk around for a really long time. And then when we get done walking, and first off, for all the eyes out there that like to chit-chat, no talking. Do y'all remember this? No talking, and I mean none. And the eyes are like, that is not even funny. Are you telling me we're going to walk for hours a day and I'm not allowed to say anything? I got lots of thoughts I'd like to share about this whole part. They're not even walking right. Okay, listen, just in general, the amount of stuff you can imagine that people were thinking when they had to walk around and around and around. And then what's the rest of the plan? Then we're going to blow some trumpets? Oh, this is a terrible plan. And so somewhere over here, this person's thinking, none of this is right. Who made this plan up? Okay, do you see the difference? Now all of a sudden, as you start reading the Bible and you start thinking there's real human beings, the amount of times that we're led and that we don't realize that human beings are in that situation, you're like, oh my gosh, that's probably what I would do. And there's a reason why God would say no talking, right? Because can you imagine the chaos the high I would create, the thousands of high, woo! I gotta do something. It's like, whistle, why you, woo! I just do something. I gotta do something to keep this energy up, baby. Come on! And like, shut up! Did we say at the beginning, you gotta stop talking? I can't help it. I love to chit chat. Don't put me next to them. That's why in class you don't sit next to your friend and all that stuff, especially if you're a high I, because what you end up doing is what? Talking! And the teacher gets all worked up. Oh, thank you so much for raising your hand. Okay, what personality likes to raise their hand?
Be nice.
Well, yeah, for sure. They're going to follow. They're going to follow the directions,
Yes.
and they're definitely going to follow the directions. Okay, and depending on their personalities, how high they raise their hand, or if they raise it at all. The D's just interject. Okay, the I's might share for no good reason. I'll tell you lots of fun stories. Okay. Okay. So we've got two that are unfavorable, and now let's go to this other side, favorable and favorable. The I's see the environment that's favorable, and the only thing I want you to add differently, I don't have it on here, but I want you to write down the word energy. Because really what the I personality is doing is trying to add energy into this otherwise dull world. If you think about the term that we use to explain the I personality, it's called the word influence. They inspire, they influence a situation. Another way of saying it is they speed it up. One of the original terms that Marston used for the I personality besides influencing was the word inducing, which means like a catalyst. It takes something from point A to point B and makes it go faster. So the whole I style is to induce, to influence, to inspire, to take a moment. If it's good, it can be great. If it's great, it can be incredible. And they're fired up all the time about wherever you're at. Okay? It's going to be awesome. Have you ever gone there before? No. Never. So how do you know it's going to be? That's the C. How do you know it's going to be good? It's just going to be good. I mean, how can it not be good? I'm going to be there. And so, but anyway, you see what I'm saying? There's a moment where personality-wise, the I is always adding the next level of energy to the situation. They're sharing. They're talking out loud. Whereas that doesn't make sense over here. Why are you talking without knowing anything? Why are you sharing without actually knowing the subject? I just thought you said we were supposed to be talking, right? You asked a question, I thought I would share. It's not accurate? No, it's not even close. Gave it a shot. No one else was talking. No one else was willing to share. Okay, and that's when the D says, you should stop. Stop sharing. You're embarrassing yourself. Okay? Because why? Because they're sitting there saying, I know, that's sad. It's okay. It's like, God, those D's are mean. No, they just don't want you to share stuff if it's not, if you're going to sit there and waste people's time. The C's want you to be accurate. The D's want you to get to the point. So I's, we don't have that filter. Just thought I'd share because people said we needed some energy in the room and nobody was chit-chatting, so I thought I'd add a little fun to the room. Okay? All right, and then the S. The S also see the environment as favorable. Now, here's the tricky part about the S, but they want to support the environment where it's at. They don't try to change it. They don't try to control it. They don't try to correct it. They don't try to add energy to it. The way to explain it is this. If you're sad, they'll let you be sad. That's why I use this term plus or minus right here. If you're sad, they'll let you be sad. If you're happy, they'll let you be happy. They're not going to try to change anything. They're going to support. That's why the term steadiness, supportive, is a great terminology for that personality. They don't like disharmony. They don't want things to change. They don't like those moments like that. There's two instigators that want things to change all the time, the D's and the I's. If it's not broken, break it. It's the D. Okay? I don't know what the I. Let's just do something random. What? Why would we do that? That it seems unpredictable. I like it. Okay? That's the I over here. Let's do something unpredictable. Let's break it. Do you have proof why we should do that? Is the system not working? And then I always like to do the S where they just throw up all the time. It's just like, oh, why would you do that? Terms like, I've got a surprise for you. The I, woo! Yes! I've got a little surprise for you. I need to talk to you after lunch. Uh-oh, excuse me. Right? That's the S. They're going to throw up right then. I was like, wait, I didn't even think I was doing anything wrong. I was just having a good day, and then you want to see me after lunch? That's very upsetting. Okay, now why? How is it that in a single environment, same exact moment, there can be multiple preferences, tendencies, comfort zones, ways people behave that come very natural to them that you wouldn't even think to do? And the more we learn that, the more we start to understand that when I would speak out loud, my dad would say, you should think about that before you say it. I still remember the first time when I was so excited about our camp, and we'd done one camp, so I thought I should quit my job. I lost money on the first camp, and so I was very excited about it. And I told Wendy, I'm going to just do camps from nonstop. She says, well, how about first we don't quit our jobs? And we lost a bunch of money on the first one. I was like, no, I know, but it was really good, and I learned a lot. Okay, and she was like, okay, let's not. Let's just relax for a second. And so there was this big church, and they were like, oh, we want to sponsor all your camps. And it was awesome opportunity, $1 million opportunity. I was 28. And I'm sitting, these two gentlemen that are going to sponsor everything. They've got like 50 camps across the United States. They have kids that are already coming to all of them. They're going to use my curriculum. It's going to be great. And I remember starting, and they were so fired up. I was so energetic. I was in my high best mode. Woo! And we're going to do this, and we do this at camp, and we look at this, and it's going to be awesome. And those two gentlemen were like, oh, this is incredible. I can't wait to take my kids to this. And then somewhere in there, I said something about a ropes course and something else, and then we could do this, and I started adding in more stuff because I thought it'd be even better. And right after that, they started thinking, well, how much is this thing going to cost? And then on top of that, they started saying, where are you going to kill all these kids? Because I started like, we should bungee jump out of the air. You know, it's like, I just made up stuff. I didn't. But as the more excited I got, the more I wouldn't stop talking. And the more I wouldn't stop talking, you could see my dad. And I remember thinking, I was like, that went awesome. My dad took me out and goes, they're not going to call you. And I was like, what do you mean they're not going to call me? They're not going to call you. Son, you had it. If you would have kept your mouth shut, you had it. You talked yourself right out of that sale. Now, it's a good time to learn, if you're going to learn in your early 20s, right, to not over-talk or over-share, you know. But what I'm trying to teach y'all is this, is that I wouldn't even known that. And if I would have known my father saying that to me at 18, not at 28, I never would have talked to him again. But you know what he was doing the entire time I was growing up? He was an S and a C, and I'm a D and an I. And everything I did was in direct opposition what he would do naturally. When he wanted to think, I wanted to share and talk. When I wanted to just do it without structure, he wanted me to think of a way to do it so that it was efficient. But what came across every time was, you didn't do it that way, you should do it this way. What came across in my brain was, I hate you. I can't stand you. You'll never be good enough. I'm never proud of you. That's how my brain translated every moment that I was with my dad. And you can only tolerate that for so long until you finally go, I'm done with this. And that's what happens. And the sad part was, at no time did my father ever stop loving me. He was trying to parent me according to his style. Train up a child in the way he should go. When he is old, he will not depart from it. So there was something that Solomon was saying in Proverbs that was trying to explain to parents that's a way to train up a child. I don't know if you know the biblical part of that, but it's the way you pull back a bow. So when you pull back a bow, it starts to sit like wherever you knock it or wherever you hold it or wherever those things are that makes you feel comfortable. That bow pulled back a certain way over and over and over again starts to train towards you. There's a natural, say it a different way, there's a natural bend, you've heard this term, a natural bent that bow has when it's pulled back. And the more we pull it back that same way, the more we fire it and get comfortable doing that. That's what that actual verse is trying to say. Your child has a natural what? Bent, temperament, style, that when you train them up, they will not depart from it. They'll come back to it over and over and over again. And some of it's the truth, like God's word, wisdom. And some of it is their natural style. Okay? Okay. All right. Good on this? So you've got two personalities that see the environment as what? Unfavorable. One wants to take charge of it and get it done. One wants to correct it to get it right. One wants to add energy into it so we can have fun. One wants you to slow it down and support it. Just be nice. Okay? I'll give you one last one just to pull it all together. But if I actually told if I told this S personality, I'm sad, what would an S do? They'll listen. They'll comfort you. They'll hug you. But they're not going to try to change where you're at because they're going to support you where you're at. Now watch. Let's see what we've learned. What if I told an I'm sad? What would they want to do? Listen, you're not sad. Let me tell you a sad story. We got some pretty sad stories, starting with your face. But anyway, mostly, let me tell you something funny. Okay, and so anyway, they're going to try to cheer you up. Okay, the D's don't have any time for that. They're going to tell you to suck it up, right? And then I always like to use the C's. The C's are going to tell you to look it up. Are you sad or depressed? Because one's just an emotion, the other one's clinical. Okay, so because if it's clinical, I'm not a doctor and I'm not a psychiatrist, and you might want to get some help. Okay, you with me? All right, same situation. This person, in general, out in the environment, is sad for different tendencies. Comfort you, let you be you, cheer you up, tell you there's no crying in baseball, suck it up, right? And then finally, I've got some questions for you if you're really that sad. No, they won't do that. Don't forget you're a combo, okay? Hopefully you've got a little bit of C and S in you, or a little bit, because if you're a CD, nothing wrong with that, but that's doubly task-oriented. So so if you think about it this way, if you have D and C in your personality, and that's your two highest traits, that means you're doubly task-oriented. Because those two traits are going to basically say, suck it up and go take care of it. But if you're a C and an S, you've got a little bit of task and a little bit of people. So I might be able to be quiet enough before, because I'm going to have some questions for you, but I'm also going to be supportive. Okay? On this side, I'm going to be doubly relationship oriented. I might be supportive until I just can't take it anymore, and then I'm going to share a story. Okay? If I'm an I and a D, I'm going to share a story, but it's going to be quick, and you should get over it pretty fast. Right? Does that make sense? So as we learn the personality stuff, and as we start to learn the foundation of the information, then we build from there. Okay.
What is the key word to remember?
Done, fun, nice,
Okay.
precise.
Okay.
Done, fun, nice, and precise. Yeah, thank
Those
you.
are 4 words.
Yeah, there's 4.
I'm precise.
Yeah, I love it. That's it. Right there.
And it's
Man.
one word right.
Woo! Oh, that's
That's
good.
that word.
Yeah, that word is 4 words, and therefore that is unacceptable since there is one blank. Now, which? Now I want y'all to remember this. Thank you very much for doing that, and I appreciate it. When you are part of something, okay. Remember what I said, the very first thing is we have to do what? Understand who?
Ourselves.
We have to have enough self-awareness, because when somebody does something in opposition to our natural style and it feels uncomfortable, this is why a lot of times when you do crucial conversations and conflict resolution and all those other things, it doesn't stick. Because what you learn is, oh, I've got to adapt. The problem is you don't even know why you're upset. And that's why the personality information helps you so much, is because if I'm a D in that moment, yeah, it's one blank. Put some commas in between it. What are we talking about? Right? Does that make sense? Like but if I understand that style, next time we got to put 4 blanks. Mm-hmm. Because out of all the personalities, the highest level of expectation, I want you to you can just write this down somewhere, but out of all the personalities, the highest level of expectation of both self and others is right there. They have high expectation for themselves, they have high expectations for others. If you say be there at 8 o'clock, what's that mean?
Be early.
That you better be there even earlier than 8 o'clock. It starts at 8. Okay? So write that down. High expectation of self, high expectation of others. And so if I'm going to err when I'm trying to present, or if I'm trying to create information, or if I'm handling a situation, I cannot err on the side of over here with fun if I'm trying to meet precision. And I don't need to get upset when somebody asks me a hard question, because it's going to happen. And okay, I'm going to teach y'all this, because we're moving to this next. We only have like 10 minutes before class is over. But okay, so here's what I want y'all to practice. Everybody take a breath. So when we breathe in, we convert from what we call the fear response over to what we can call a faith response. But if you learn it out in the secular world, we're going to call that emotional intelligence. We're going to call it EQ. We're going to call it the amygdala. We're going to call it the frontal cortex, okay? We're going to give you fancy terms that allow you to understand what God already knew. There's a difference to when you're afraid or when you're inspired. Inspiration, the word inspire literally means to breathe into spirit. So when you breathe in, it's a completely different breath than when you're afraid. Okay? Afraid breath is, it's sucking in. Because what are you trying to do? I'm trying to suck in really fast to get as much breath as quickly as so I can either fight, flight, freeze, or appease. I don't know which one I'm going to do, but I do know that I got to get a bunch of air in me quick. Compared to, if you've ever been really inspired, everybody be. Watch something that inspires you. Is anybody at church this Sunday? It's okay if you weren't, doesn't matter. I'm not like, listen, so you weren't. Okay. Anyway, when you're at church, there are moments where, I don't know if you experience this like I do, but there will be moments where the choir is singing or the person is so full of joy while they're singing. I mean, it comes all the way over to you. Like you feel it from the stage into you. There's moments when the pastors are preaching that all of a sudden your countenance changes. You feel it.
Right.
And you're like, whoo! There was, I don't know, again, if y'all are here on Sunday, there was a young lady that had blonde hair. What's her name?
Alyssa.
Her countenance, her smile, her like, what's this? Gestures. Can't think of that word. Her hand movements, her gestures, talking about God. I was like, okay, that's really beautiful. I was so inspired. I could feel it all the way through me. It was so powerful. How does that happen? Where does that come from? Everybody breathe. Yeah. You cannot handle conflict if you don't have a good spirit inside of you. Okay? And the way to have a good spirit inside, you've got to breathe. When you're upset, you're not breathing. You're sucking in super fast so that you can get ready to fight or flight. Okay? Okay? So anytime you're in a conflict, you'll hear it when someone's in a conflict. What'd you say? I can't believe you said that. What are you doing? I can't believe you're talking about. And then they're sucking in. And then eventually, if you ever watch the conflict, someone that has enough sense will go like this. Okay, sorry. I just got to stop for a second. You ever see this moment? Have you ever experienced it? The second you take that breath, it reroutes away from the amygdala, away from the fight or flight mode in your brain, and allows your brain to go, whew, I got to stop. I'm getting completely out of control. So if you're ever on a phone with customer service, if you're ever, if that's part of your job, or if you're having it, if you're in traffic or any of those things, first you can turn on some music. That'll help a lot. There's a lot of things to decrease that. Okay? Because part of what you're mad about is the injustice of them cutting in front of you, or somebody cutting you off, or scaring you, or a million other things. But I want you to learn to breathe, because that's the starting point of self-awareness. Okay, one more time. So if I can breathe, I can do some pretty cool stuff. All right, so let's talk about this really fast, this idea of perception versus perspective. All right, glass half full, half empty, half full or half empty, or I don't care. Okay, just put down a number really quick: 1, 2, 3, or 4. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, and then I'll just ask really fast. What do you think it is? 1, 2, 3, or 4?
1.
All right, no, 1, 2, 3, or 4. So 1, 2, 3, or 4. All right, how many of y'all said not 1? I like the idea it's half full. Okay, how many of y'all say 2, glass half empty? All right, 3. It's either half full or half empty. And so there was a great term. Depends on if you're filling it or pouring it out, right? If you're pouring it out, it's half empty. If you're filling it, it's half full. Okay, that's just a funny thing your grandma would say. And then finally, how many say I just don't care? Okay. All right. Here's the whole point, is that we all have a perception of things. Okay? We all have a perception of how things should be. And we see it from our very unique perception. Perception is we've heard this before, is our reality. But what we're learning is you can have one thing in 4 different ways to look at it. So we have an environment, and our perception is this, but if we look at all the perspectives, done, fun, nice, and precise, half full, not half full, if it's poured or full, well, the reality is, you can go, it's actually not even on the half mark, it's a little bit less than that. Gee, that's precise, okay? Or whatever, okay? And then I'm just going to do this one fast. I don't want you to spend too much time on it, but I just want you to see it. When you look at this, who do you see first, an old woman or a young woman? When you look at it. All right. Some people will see the old woman first. Some people see the young woman. Remember, perception. Perception is the way that I see something. That's my reality. And then someone will say something different, and you'll go like this. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's not what I see. Okay, and well, I'll show it to you so you can see the other side. So that's where you see the young woman. It looks like that. So if you look way deep on that side, not because that's the nose of the old woman, but if you look way deep on that side, let's go back. That's her eyebrow right there.
Her eyelash.
Eyebrow. That's her eyelash. That's her little nose. Okay, so that's the young woman back there, and then so that's what it looks like, right? Okay, but the whole point is this: is when we look at these exercises, when we see these things, we first have our perception of what we believe to be true. And then all of a sudden, as we start to learn things, we start to see multiple perspectives. The way Matthew saw it, the way Mark saw it, the way Luke saw it. Luke saw it completely different than the others because as a doctor, he wanted to see it very particular. I wanted only evidence. I wanted to see it in a very specific way, Theophilus. You understand? When he saw that, he was trying to account for the logistics behind it, the details. Go read the very first chapter of Luke, and he's going to explain it to you so that I can have an account that you could trust. Now, who out of all of them, done, fun, nice, or precise? Precise. He wanted it very precise so that there was evidence so that you could see it. I don't want to just, woo! I don't want to just have fun with this. I'm about to put this in front of a council. We're going to have to show this for years. People are going to judge this information. So I don't want somebody to just give me their thought process. I want to have evidence. So even when you look at John, John's completely different. John is John the Beloved, not John the Baptist. John the Beloved. The way he writes is completely different. It's almost like a romantic relationship. Not romantic, but you understand. It's like I love God so much. You should love him as much as I love you. That's a completely different personality perspective, and that's why those verses read completely different. Okay? He's trying to explain his relationship with God. Done, fun, nice, precise, right? Which one is he? He's on the nice side. If you look at his words compared to Luke's words, it's completely different. Okay? So when we read the Bible, even as the person's writing, they can't help but be themselves as they're talking to you and sharing with you from their, not perception, but now from their perspective of how all of these things and all these details came about in their life. That's why there is no contradiction. It's just a different way of seeing it. It's from their heart. Okay? They're guided completely different to share the thoughts and expressions that they had that maybe others couldn't see. Because they all got to see the same thing. It wasn't like Peter saw something different. Well, Peter was always messing around with everything. But anyway, we'll get to that later. But Peter's a high eye. He's impulsive. He's unstructured. He says one thing and he's like, that's beautiful. I'm going to build my church on you. You're the rock. 2 seconds later, get away from me, Satan. Because as a high eye, we lose our sense. We say one thing and the next thing you know, we're saying something completely different. Okay? As we discover these perspectives, you're going to get to see the Bible characters completely different. You'll get to see them from just being them, being themselves. Loving God, not just from their perception, but from multiple perspectives. Okay? All right, so last little piece, and then we've got to close up today. But what would you say? It's an excellent report card. For my report card or that of my child, I would call it television network. There are 5 A's. There's 1 B. What happened to cause that? So this is the report card. A in English, A in math, A in history, A in physics, B in biology, A in PE. All right? So this is 1, 2, 3, or 4. Pick which one you would put. Just say 1, 2, 3, or 4 again. Just pick your number. So when my friend Ken Bogus did this, he was working with a group of, we're just probably around the same, kind of middle class high school students. And these were the actual responses they gave. But really quick, how many of y'all, it's an excellent report card, okay? The Friday report card of that of my child I called the television network. Anybody have a sense of humor? Okay. There are 5 A's. Anybody notice that? There's 1 B. Did anybody see that? Okay, it's fine. But that's the difference, right? When we see something, we're looking at it from our perspective and saying, huh, okay. And so here's what they came up with. Personally, I could bring this report card home and know that I'd be encouraged by my parents. My parents would want to know why I made a B in biology. So they'd look at that report card, and then the only thing they would focus on is what? The B, yeah. I would expect a reward from my parents if I brought this report card home. That's a high I, by the way. Just want to let you know I went to class every day, and somehow I managed to pull this off. We're going to Chuck E. Cheese. I don't know. Whatever. Let's go to all. Okay. I would be comfortable with this or any other report card if I knew it was my best and I knew my parents felt the same. Anybody? It's an interesting perspective, right? When those kids answered that question. What's interesting about that is that's what both my parents were teachers, okay? Everybody in my family is an educator. So my older sister, my second oldest sister, my mom was a teacher, my dad was a teacher, Wendy was a teacher. It's my wife, Wendy, by the way. And so, in case you didn't know, I just pointed to some random person. And so we're all teachers. When we were growing up, my parents would just ask one question: was it your best? And that was just brutal in itself. They never said, cause they're all teachers. They're expecting us to do decent in school. But my mom would say the same thing: did you do your best? And now part of my personality was, not really. I was like, that was my brain. I was like, oh boy, that's not good. So then she didn't say anything else. That was it. That was the entire discussion. If that was your best, then we'll be proud of you. And then after that, it's up to you. I don't like that. It's very upsetting. And so we constantly had to do that. So I would personally see this report card as a failure. I don't want to go too far into this, but if you've never read the book Happiness is a Choice by Minirth and Meyer, when I was in seminary, Minirth and Meyer, just look up this research some other time. But anybody want to take a guess, one of the hardest personalities that struggles with that, perfection? D, I, S, or C? Precise. The precision part, remember? High expectations of others, high expectations of self. And all of a sudden, they can't not fixate on that one thing. Now, your personality could have grown over your lifetime, and it's okay. But there are little things like that will literally just whoop you. They'll beat you up. Because one of this, the D can't believe that they're so direct it might hurt somebody. We talked a little bit about that before everybody came in. They'll say things that are so candid or so direct or so strong. You're like, whoo, that was a lot. Do you even think about what you're saying before you say it and how it's going to hurt people? Not really. They need to toughen up. Okay. Oh, by the way, as I go through the different personalities and I say things, it's okay. I'm not mad at y'all. But I will be strong. Like I will do D stuff. I will do I stuff for you. I'll try to be as S as I can, which is not my personality, but I'll do my best. And then I'll try to do some C stuff. But when I use D terminology, if I change my countenance and I say it strong, I'm not mad at y'all. Okay, just want to let you know. It's like, did you see that? He was so mad. No, I'm just trying to give you an opportunity to see for a second what it might sound like. And I know as a high D, I can say things that they don't come across the way I wanted to. So I can repel humans pretty quick because of my style. So remember I told you about that arc of the Mount Everest? The moment where John Maxwell would say this: the world can break you or God can break you. The only difference is God breaks you in all the right pieces. That's the Damascus Road. That's the moment where Paul had to be broken. We're going to spend some time on that one because I want you to understand if you have a lot of D in your personality, you eventually have to be broken because you think you can control everything. You think you're in charge of everything. You think you can figure everything out. You think you can keep pushing. And there's going to be a moment where God did the same thing to you, hopefully, as he did to Paul, which is you're not in charge. Okay, and so we'll talk about all the different styles when it comes to that. All right, and then those were the responses of those 44 kids. 15 of them said that. 13 of them said my two parents would want to know why. 9 said that. 14 said I'd be comfortable. 5 said I'd personally see this as a failure, and 10 said NBC would have to call a press conference. Okay, which that just means they've got some kids in there that's got a good sense of humor. Okay, all right. Let's see if we can do this last little piece, and then we're all done. I'll end with this thought. We all communicate a certain way, but we all interpret it through our lens. Okay? We all communicate. My communication, your interpretation. So when I'm communicating like a D, let's get this job what? Done. You might see that as what?
Pushing?
Yeah, pushy, bossy, overbearing, direct, dictatorial, too abrasive. Gee, why are you so strong? Why do you have to say it that way? Are you mad? Are you mad all the time? No, I'm not mad all the time. Everybody's just slow. Yeah, I'm just trying to tell y'all we've got things to do, so let's do it. Let's get it done. Why is everybody so mad all the time? Why are you so hurt all the time? It makes me sad that you just can't toughen up. Well, no, how about you watch how you say things? Now you come to meddling, so I don't need you to help me. I'm trying to help you. Okay? Right? Because that's what happens eventually. Okay, so let me finish with this idea. Fear causes, and we're going to pick up this next week in this spot. Fear causes us to either react with this is two ways of reacting. Withdraw, get away from it, that's fear. Or fear also causes us to get really angry. We become over-controlling. You with me? So fear causes us to try to get away from something, get away. Away. Anger has me go against you and towards you. I don't go away from you when I'm mad. I go towards you and against you. Okay? In 1 John, what does it say? Perfect blank cast out fear. Does anybody know what that is?
Love.
Perfect love cast out fear. Okay? So, when you think about this, there is, in anything that I teach when it comes to servant leadership or situational leadership or even the disc information, there is a moment in which if I can understand you, seek first to understand, then to be understood, then I am called to something greater. If I can try to understand your perspective, not my own, not my perception, if I can see from your perspective in that moment, I'm doing exactly what God asked me to do, which is to find a way to love you. And when I'm afraid, I don't see you. I only try to protect me. And that's why our strengths of being direct and driven and determined and outgoing and supportive and precise turn into something that pushes people away. Because the more precise I am, the more I become picky. The more picky I am, the more I become critical. The more critical I am, the more I become a perfectionist, the more I can't stand anything you do because you do everything wrong. And I become very over-controlling. You're not doing that right, you're not doing that right, you're not doing that right, nothing's right. Okay? So, our personality under control is found in perfect what? Perfect love. That perfect love casts out fear. So that's what we're going to discover. How do we show perfect love? And what's really cool is this week when Dr. Wu was preaching, which verse did he use?
Love your neighbor.
Love your neighbor as your what?
Yourself.
So the first one, the second one is like the first. Love your neighbor as yourself. You want to hear something really cool? It challenges all of us to first love who before we love our neighbor. Well, yeah, God obviously, that's number one. But in that verse, love your neighbor as yourself. It is really hard to love your neighbor when you don't even like yourself. You can't, okay, I'll say it a different way. You can't give away something you don't got. You cannot give away love to another human being when you don't love yourself. I spent the last 30 years doing everything I could to help students understand that they had worth. So the next couple of times together, I'm going to share with you this idea is, does God even believe we should have a self-image? Do we have it? Is that unhealthy to talk about the self-image? Is it all about trophies and all this stuff? We're going to tackle that little thought next time we get together. But I want to show you in Matthew where he talks to them about that. First, put God first. Second, love your neighbor as your what? As yourself. Because it's really hard to do anything I'm going to teach you when you have nothing to give away but your fear. Because if I don't like myself, it's going to be a lot of fear and anger in here. But if I love me, if I have me, a good Holy Spirit inside of me, guess what I'm going to give away? Love. Because perfect what? Love casts out fear. And you can't have perfect love without God. Okay? So that's it. That's for today. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. And we'll pick up there next week. Yes, please.
Where does Jesus fit this question?
In what way? Tell me what you mean.
Personality.
Personality.
Oh, okay. So now that's a really easy answer.
Yeah.
It's a really cool answer too. Jesus adapts to the exact style that he needs all throughout the Bible, every time. So when you need precision, he gives it to you. When you need love, he'll weep with you. He'll hug you. So the simplest example is Mary and Martha. So that adaptation in that moment is a perfect example. It's the exact same verses twice. Jesus, if you'd only been here when my brother Lazarus would be alive. That's Martha. And he turns to Martha and says, you know that I am the light and the resurrection. And she goes, yes, I know that. So you know that you'll see your brother again. And then, so what Jesus does is he answers a question to heal her head. She has a head question, a task question, a precision question. Why weren't you here? Literally a verse later, Mary says, Jesus, if you'd only been here, my brother Lazarus would be alive. And then, of course, it's the two shortest, words in the entire Bible. Besides, I was hungry after the 40 days in the whatever in the desert. Was Jesus what?
Wept.
Jesus wept. Martha needed a healed head. Mary needed a healed heart. He answered one. He held another. He always does that. We'll get to discover all that where Jesus goes from each person and what they needed in that moment, he gives them. He's the perfect combination. He is no personality. He is all. So anyway, all right. Thank you all so much for letting me share with y'all.